Newsmax Prime. Donald Trump and Ted Cruz campaign with dueling town halls in Wisconsin. Meantime, Wisconsin native Reince Priebus, who chairs the Republican National Committee, could possibly be out of a job in January. We'll talk about that. Plus, our political panel offers views from the left and the right as Newsmax Prime starts right now. Good evening and welcome to the Monday night edition of Newsmax Prime. I'm J.D. Hayworth. Of prime interest tonight, one day till Wisconsin. On the eve of that crucial primary, the top two Republicans campaign in the Badger State, while the architect of the ad that badgered and bedeviled the current frontrunner is talking about her role with a super PAC. Miranda Kahn has more.
JD, the name of the super PAC is Make America Awesome. The name of the woman behind it is Liz Mayer. She's responsible for the ad that used a nude picture of Melania Trump, made more than 15 years ago from the British version of GQ magazine, before the model's marriage to the billionaire-turned candidate. Now, the ad prompted Trump to blame Ted Cruz and threatened to, quote, spill the beans on the senator's wife in a message tweeted by Trump. In an interview with CNN, Liz Mayer insisted Cruz had nothing to do with the ad and boasted of its effectiveness.
Absolutely not. Of course he didn't. I mean, next thing Donald Trump's going to be out there claiming that it was like the Illuminati or something, and that'll be just as equally plausible as what he's claiming here. No, it's totally bogus. People can blame me if they don't like the ad. The fact is the ad worked. The ad did exactly what we intended it to do, and it's done far more than that. The reality is that part of the reason that Donald Trump is tanking right now is because he's bothered spending a week and a half getting pissed and acting like a toddler having a major meltdown over this ad.
The ad also led Trump to retweet a message less than courteous to Heidi Cruz, something the candidate now admits was a mistake.
He knew those people, 100% for them. They coordinated together. I have no doubt about it in a million years. He did that attack, and this was just retaliation.
Even if he did, was it worth you just spending a week on?
No, I would say probably not. If I had it to do again, I probably wouldn't have sent it.
But he did send it, and the ensuing controversy did him no favors. So tonight, Trump works to make up lost ground and try to find favor with those Wisconsin voters.
And we seek to get favorable analysis from one of our good friends, Skyping in from Northern Virginia, presidential historian Craig Shirley. Craig also the president of Shirley and Banister Public Affairs, and he is author of the book Last Act: The Final Years and Emerging Legacy of Ronald Reagan. Now, Craig, I want to talk with you more about this because the whole super PAC situation there. Liz went to great pains to say she had had no direct contact with Ted Cruz. But here's my question. Doesn't this take place with kind of a nod and a wink? I mean, under the law, couldn't Liz sit down with somebody from the senator's official staff? Couldn't she have broad philosophical discussions with someone who is part of the Cruz campaign?
Well, JD, let me say, first of all, in the future nuclear war, only cockroaches and Republican consultants will survive.
Okay.
And you know, having run yourself, the value of Republican consultants and their relative state in the political process is that she doesn't need to sit down with somebody's staff member. She needs to simply do an interview, do a blog, do a radio talk show to send signals or to communicate directly or indirectly what her strategy is going to be. You know, this is something we need to delve in more deeply at some point. It is worrisome. These Republican consultants and now the advent of super PACs gives them authority without responsibility. And here we are talking about the childish pranks of another Republican consultant. I don't know her. I did a little research and found out she's been fired from every job she's ever had. Is that they have an enormous amount of power and authority, and yet no responsibility. You ran for office. You put it on the line. If the voters liked you, they voted for you. If they didn't, but they mostly did, thank God. But these Republican consultants, there's no repercussion. There's no drawback to them doing whatever they want, whenever they want, and forcing the rest of us, to talk about things that are really not very important or essential to national politics or the world or the presidency.
Yeah, and Joe Hoft, guest posting at the as the Gateway pundit, does some delegate number crunching rather, and he maintains that by April 26, Senator Cruz will need 687 delegates to win nomination, but only 634 will be available. Your reaction to that?
Well, we're headed, Miranda, this is so exciting for all of us, because we're headed for, now, I mean, obviously it's going to be a contested convention. It's by definition, because there's more than one candidate heading into Cleveland. There's three candidates, so it will be by definition of contested convention. But now it looks like it's going to be a brokered convention, which is the first time since 1952 where it was actually horse trading among the delegates and among the candidates to get a first ballot, to try to get a first ballot nomination. It doesn't look like Trump's going to get there with the first ballot, enough votes for a first ballot nomination. Certainly not Cruz, and definitely not Kasich. So this will almost by definition go to a second, third ballot nomination. In 1926, I believe, the Democrats went to over 100 balloting. They balloted over 100 times before nominating John W. Davis of West Virginia, who obviously went on to lose to Herbert Hoover.
Well, all the talk of a brokered convention, it's intriguing, but the fact remains there's still a lot of time in this campaign. Well, one other note, we're reaching out to Liz Mayer. We hope to have her with us later this week here on Newsmax Prime, since we've talked about consultants and about Ms. Mayer particularly. I want to get that into the record. But let me get back to the candidates, and let me get back to the pursuit of the nomination. New York, Trump is far ahead. It has been described that the last week to 10 days has been a meltdown. Will all that talk cool down, whatever happens tomorrow night in Wisconsin when Trump heads to New York?
JD, how many times have we pronounced Donald Trump dead? I mean, he's been pronounced dead more times than Dracula. Is going back now almost a year now to his comments about John McCain. I'm convinced that he has a reverse polarity, and that whatever he does is that it simply enhances his position in the polls. I don't know why. I'm not sure anybody knows why. I do know the Republican Party is going through an enormous transition. It's going through a rejection of Bushism and Rovism. It's in the wilderness right now, especially at the national level. And right now, the answer for a lot of people is Donald Trump, simply because he is the most anti-establishment, most anti-Washington, the most anti-political elites of all the candidates right now. And as long, let me just say one thing. As long as the political elites are more unpopular than Donald Trump, he will continue winning. When the political elites become more popular than Donald Trump, then he will begin to lose.
So are you saying, despite what the poll numbers are saying, you still think Trump has a pretty good chance of winning in Wisconsin tomorrow?
Miranda, I think he's got hidden strength in the polling that doesn't necessarily show up. So we saw that in South Carolina, where he won by a bigger margin, other states where he's won by a bigger margin. I think there's two factors that the pollsters and maybe political observers are not considering. One is that people lie to pollsters, and we've known that for a fact for a long time. And it may be that the political classes have simply embarrassed Republican primary voters into just saying, no, I'm not voting for Trump. The other factor is that people may disapprove of Donald Trump, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to vote against him. And I think there's a wide disparity between disapproval and people who actually vote for Donald Trump. So I think it may be more competitive. I know Ted Cruz has worked Wisconsin hard. He's got the support of the Republican and conservative establishment. He's got the support of Governor Walker and radio talk show and other conservative media. But I still wouldn't discount Donald Trump tomorrow night. I would expect Cruz to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Trump did.
And the other factor there that we need to enumerate here, articulate, is the fact that it is an open primary. And it's pretty tough when you go out to interview likely Republican voters as opposed to those who may come and say, I'm going to vote in that Republican primary. Whomever is doing the voting tomorrow, Craig, TV viewers have been treated to a lot of ads. We were talking about super PACs earlier, and a pro-Trump super PAC, Great America, put out an ad of their own in Wisconsin. This one features a concerned mother. Let's watch just a portion of this ad.
Sure, I get some grief when I say I'm voting for Donald Trump, but you know what? I want to protect my family. Paris, San Bernardino, and now Brussels. I want a president that will keep us safe. We need to control our borders and stop letting in dangerous people. Trump will do that.
So you hear that, the security mom of 2016, in addition to Trump as a protest candidate against the elites, does he still have a stranglehold on security issues?
So, JD, and that commercial is absolutely perfect for him. It gets him back to what his signature issue has been: the border, the wall, and illegal immigration and security. And that's what he needs to stick to. That commercial is perfect for him. He's not on message, but his independent campaign is. I want to make one other point, too, about this. You raised a very important issue about crossover voting. Ronald Reagan won the 1980 nomination, including the Wisconsin primary, for many reasons, including the crossover Democrats who were able to cross over and vote in Republican primaries. He won a lot of primaries in 1980 and a lot of primaries in 1976 because of the emergence of what we later became known as Reagan Democrats. And so that factor cannot be underestimated.
JD was talking about the power of television ads. Sometimes there is truth hidden in humor. Case in point was taken when Ted Cruz was on Jimmy Kimmel the other night. Let's watch, and I want to get your reaction, Craig.
Donald is a unique individual. I will say I was watching the early part of the show, and if I were in my car and getting ready to reverse and saw Donald in the backup camera, I'm not confident which pedal I'd push.
So we talked about the ad. Now, as you just heard, Cruz kind of left. But is there any way that these two foes, Cruz and Trump, can get past this nastiness from this campaign cycle, in your opinion?
Oh, Miranda, JD's heard it a long time, and I'm sure you have too, is that politics is the art of the possible. Politics is the art of compromise. Ronald Reagan and George Bush pretty much despised each other in 1980, and yet they came together to form a ticket. Anybody who knows anything about politics knows that John Kennedy and the Kennedy family despised Lyndon Johnson, and Mrs. Kennedy, Jackie Kennedy, made jokes about Johnson and Mrs. Johnson behind their backs. FDR had little use for Truman. He had no use for John Nance Garner. But politics is the art of the possible, and so it's possible these two could come together. It's possible Kasich and Trump could come together. It's possible some other permutation. I think we actually, Miranda, we're in uncharted territory.
Well, there is one thing, and we'll have to leave it there, Craig, because one thing we want to make sure is that people understand it's not uncharted. You can join us tomorrow night for coverage of the Wisconsin primary here on Newsmax TV.